prepared to do whatever it takes. Actually, I don't know what I was saying right there. But besides that, hello everyone, I'm back. I'm Icecade. Or, hello, I'm Icecade, and I'm back for some more Midnight Club 3 Double Edition Remix. Where I last off was that I was still inside of San Diego, and I was still doing a few races inside the city. What I plan to do is see if I could beat some of the tuner events.
They're gonna want to put her in Dub Magazine now, fool.
Some of these unbeatable street racers. Nice. Oh. What a start.
Beat this guy, and you'll get to meet his club, the Original Riders.
I do want to say that I am going to play through off the game, but my intention is to play through the whole entire game, which means do all the race events and all that, and then I could deem the game to be complete. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is focus on the tuner challenge, because, well, why not? It's like the only car series that I have right now, driving IS 39. Hold on. It's still a bit loud, so I might have to turn it down a bit. What if the cops went onto the freeway?
You are resisting arrest.
Maybe one of these angles could be a good way to take an image. It's just a shame that you're not really given that many camera properties while playing inside this game. Are you fucking kidding me? God damn it. Seriously? What a start. What a way to start this off. I hope I'm not going to be too annoyed like I was What the hell? The cop just hit a gas station. My car has taken up a lot of damage. What is this cop doing? He's just ramming the car. I like how the cop still just does this despite the fact that the race is over. Oh, that actually looks stupid though.
Hey, you see, we got some great new stock at 619. Come by if you want me to hook you right up.
Oh, nice and smooth.
I told you you was gonna win.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Ah, come on. Oh my god, that was close.
Now you're in the game.
Oh, goodness gracious, that was a close one.
Looks like you're making a name for yourself, ASA. Now you've got access to Zone. It allows...
You're honestly gonna hate the idea of how cops are able to keep up with you. Like, what it feels like they're doing is just rubber banding their way to get to you inside of the game. At least that's how I see it. I'm not too sure how anyone else sees it.
That's a classic, pimp.
Fuck, fuck, fuck. There we go. Oh, that was a close one. Right, we got those out of the way. Now we can move on to Atlanta. Actually, no, there is a few more racers that did appear in the map. Actually, let me modify the car a bit. There's a few things I did want to put. Actually, I think it looks a little bit more better if it didn't have the pulsing neons. I don't know why, I'm just used to having a vehicle inside the game without putting strobing underglow. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Actually, the body kit could be worked around a bit. There we go, now it's all set.
Oh, you think you're a player, huh?
Now off to Atlanta.
I've
It's
been
this
working on
guy.
it for months. Real tight. Cost me my marriage. Whatever though, it don't matter. I'm still winning. Most beautiful thing you ever seen. Look at it. Damn. You Oscar's boy, right? Good to meet you. He told me you'd be coming over. Look at that thing now. She's beautiful.
So the big change that will come into this channel, it will be made apparent. I'm probably gonna have to clip this through and make it into a video of its own. So I am gonna be talking about games. However, I'm just not gonna I'm just gonna try to make myself a little bit more transparent in regards to the drama of video games, more in regards to racing games per se. I will still talk about them, but I will talk about some games that aren't normal compared to some of the others. I am still gonna see about doing some live streams.
Watch out for this guy. With the size of that Escalade, he could make this race awfully bumpy if he starts throwing his weight around.
At least some of the games that I've touched tabs on and kind of find interesting. The most recent that I have as of right now was for the PSP, the Need for Speed Underground Rivals. There is a good chance I'm going to be making a video out of that at some point in the near future. So yeah, stay tuned for that. I don't know. When it comes to the drama of video games nowadays, it's like tiring me. It's like wearing me out, just like how I'm going to work and all that kind of stuff. So it doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I'm just not going to be doing it as crazy as anticipated. At least I don't want to try to. I'm like wanting to reduce it down even further than previously. He tried ducking his SUV down there. It just sent a truck flying. But yeah, I wanted to cover more about video games that are kind of intriguing for its own time. They may sound like review videos, but trust me when I say that they're not really 100% review videos. At least some of the obscure titles, at least some of the most notable titles, but yet they have the most obscurest builds for their time. Like Need for Speed Underground Rivals, but then there's games like Ace Combat Advance. I know that there's been some videos about some of those games, but I don't know. I prefer just keep having my own spin of things. So, not only that, but there may be a good chance that I will do a video about Midnight Club Los Angeles for the PSP as well. Because I find it interesting. Quite peculiar. The guy crashed himself out. Dude, these guys are trying so hard. I'm driving a Lexus. Oh god. I'm just a guy driving a Lexus. You know, for a game that has been around for 2 decades, maybe even more than that, somehow it just surprises me as to how good it still is. Despite all the age that the game has gone through. Like, how long ago it has been since this game has been out, but yet it still happens to be good to this very day. It actually surprises me. It's like, when you look at a game like this, obviously you're just gonna see like, oh well, it's an old game by today's standards. But then you go back at the same time and you think a second time, just thinking to yourself, it's an old game, but what the hell? There ain't gonna be anything else like this ever again in the next few years or so. Which is true. Unfortunately, it is very... What the hell was that? I saw a cop just flung himself over to me. Anyways, what was I saying? Oh, yeah, it's true to the fact that that in today's standards, the game may be old for its time. Just like any of the other games else, like Underground as an instance. But then again, you have to think a second time and just go by the fact that you gotta appreciate with what you are given, especially if you have to emulate the game, because good chance there isn't gonna be another game like that will ever be like this per se. Maybe there could be, depending if there are some indie game devs that wants to make a game based off of Midnight Club or whatnot. But for Rockstar Games themselves, it's blatantly obvious enough that it's never going to happen. Oh my god. Like, some indie game devs actually do try to make the video game, and it's to make it more enjoyable for the player bases that do enjoy the older titles. I do know that there is Trailout, which is supposed to be an indie version of Flatout, and it was developed by a Russian developer, Johan Hirsch, if I'm not mistaken, which pretty cool. It's a pretty cool game. I still have yet to play it. I mean, I still have it on my library, but I've never really gone out of my way to actually make time to play the game at all. Maybe I will in the near future. So you could definitely tell that some people would have the passion of making video games all for the sake of the vehicle. Like, when it comes to Trailout, it does not 100%, but some people enjoy that game because it pays homage to Flatout.
Got the attention of the big players, and believe me, that ain't easy.
Of course, it's not perfect per se, but then again, when has any other video game been perfect? Ne- like, not every single video game is perfect. It has its own flaws in some cases. But I think Trailer pays a decent homage to Flatout. Not the best, not the absolute worst either, but it does decently. Pretty sure that a lot of people do like that game. Even though the numbers are small, I do know for a fact that the game is very likable. It's very likable, just like this one. But maybe the last two games I'll get for the time being would be, in the near future, I want to try to stream some Ace Combat 8. Like, I want to get the game and I want to stream it. And then after that, I'm going to try to get,
Alright, a word of warning. This chain cat knows how to get some great performances out this Lancer. gotta be up for.
I am gonna be streaming some Ace Combat 8, Wings of Thief, in the near future when it releases. But the last game I think I'm gonna get
Beat
is...
this guy, and you'll get to meet his club, the original writers.
I'm gonna be playing Armored Core 6. Of course, I'm not gonna stream that game, but I'm gonna play it for the fun of it, because why not? Maybe I'll do some shit posts of that game, though. I don't know, probably not. But those are the last two games I'm gonna try to get for AAA game companies. I don't know, I have my patience and faith with AAA game developers just realistically thins out all too quickly. Especially with the latest controversy that console players are now suffering with the whole entire idea of the physical discs being removed and Sony wants full control of your consoles. It just didn't really sit out with me very well. I mean, yeah, sure, ironically I'm playing a computer just to emulate this game. But honestly, it's just that I feel the pain for everyone when it comes to playing console. Because at some point I used to be a console player too, but this was way before I was even doing YouTube, way before I even knew what YouTube was about, and way before Grand Theft Auto 6 existed, and probably Grand Theft Auto 5. That I used to play with consoles, and for a very long while, but I opted to play computer in 2013 because I wanted to play with the computer specifically. I was young and I didn't know anything at the time, but I swapped over to computer not because of these recent changes and whatever is going on with consoles, but back then I would play the computer all because I wanted to. I was more intrigued about it. I wanted to play Gary's mod at T-Fortress 2. But as I aged a little bit more, I come to the realization that by today's standards, now I finally knew why. Like, nowadays I'm satisfied with what I'm doing. I'm playing on computer because I get to play any of the games that I want to without having Steam to go up on my tail and tell me, oh hey, we're gonna remove this game from your library, or oh hey, we're gonna remove this movie from your library, because Steam doesn't really do that. But PlayStation, on the other hand, has been getting themselves involved into removing the whole entire physical disc idea. And what's going on is that they want to have complete control over your PlayStation account. So whatever you bought, they want the full control of your own library and want to remove the movies if they simply wish to. Now, realistically, the issue is that Sony hasn't even made a plan to preserve ownership for the digital age of video games and movies. Unlike Steam, Steam always has been that kind of platform where you buy the games, even though it's a license, but you're able to keep the games. You can download them anytime you want. You can play them anytime you want. It's just that simple. Console, you don't really do that anymore. Still sad, Midnight Club 2 is the only Midnight Club to receive a PC port. I still have the OG copy of Midnight Club 3 Double Edition Remix. I have a Double Edition Remix copy for the PS2. However, that's my dad's copy, and I still have yet to return it. Because ultimately, he knows that I would play that game more Because I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to play the game? I mean, yeah, sure, it's overrated, but still, it is something to enjoy for its time. I guess it just never really occurred to Rockstar Games to make a PC port of NFL 3 or any of the others into PC. Would have been nice if they did. But I guess they see this marketing strategy for the racing game franchise to be more specifically on console. And if it's just simply that, then I guess it's just a disappointment though. And wanted. I remember buying it on launch. And funny enough, they sold the Remix edition for $20 on launch date, while the unremixed version was still $50. Well, that is kind of ridiculously ironic. That is really ironic, now that you mention it. Like, they have the original version for $50 flat, but they only sold, but they sold the remix dollars just to the Double Edition remix for $20. I feel like that's a calculation error. I feel like Rockstar Games wasn't planning to make it that cheap, but they did anyways. It was probably accidental. I could be wrong. Actually, that got me curious now. That actually got me ridiculously curious. I'm glad I took advantage. Hold on. Hold on. Let me put it into. Okay, but I'm looking for when they initially sold the game, not. And when I heard it was released on G4 TV for $20 for the remix version, yeah, I had to go to run to Game Crazy on foot just to get it. And still have MC3 Double Edition remix till this day. Um, I know that a long time ago, my dad ended up getting Midnight Club 3 Double Edition remix. I don't exactly remember when, but it was a long time ago when I was a kid. I was like not even like a few years young. I was probably 4 when the game released, and I never knew anything about it back then. It was until at some point that my dad ended up getting the game. But it was probably a little bit later. But even even if it was a little bit later after release, I was not even mature enough still. But I do know he ended up getting the game, even though, especially if it hasn't been in launched. Actually, there was a few games that he was intrigued on when I was still growing as a child, and he was an adult. I mean, he still is, but when he was a bit younger, before, uh, when he was still a bit younger, he not only had Midnight Club. I was in high school when it went down. Oh wow! My dad was at My dad had not only gotten Midnight Club 3 for the PS2, he also had Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2, but when I got myself into those games, he ended up getting Most Wanted from 2005 and Carbon, and they were for the PS2 specifically. So all the fancy stuff like high definition and all that was not inside of that console, but honestly, I didn't really give a damn. So as long as it kept, I don't think any of us ever gave a damn at the time. So as long as we were enjoying the game, that's all that really mattered at the end of the day. Or more specifically me, because I would usually be the one that plays the PlayStation 2 when I was a child. Yeah, no, I was in elementary when the whole entire thing was going down. I never knew anything about it. I was still a mindless infant. Yet, I still played it regardless of that fact. So even though if it wasn't on the specific day that it was out, it still it still left a burn mark on my memory, just like some of the other games else. Oh, it was for the trigger control. Yeah, I mean that's enough for Xbox really. When the original one came out, is that compared to the PlayStation 2, it's the Xbox is the first one to utilize triggers for the controllers rather than just a simple gun comm compared to simple trigger. Well, let me put it like this. Like, instead of it using triggers on a gun comm that was made by Namco to specifically play Time Crisis and whatever other games else, the triggers for the Xbox was kind of unique. Actually it actually made, I think that it was a trend though. Still play the PC version of Underground 2 here and there. And that's good. Like, that's the evolutionary... It's kind of unique because it's an evolutionary thing for the Xbox. But then... PlayStation learned about the technology of triggers for controllers on the for the Xbox, and they decided to work their way around to make it for the PlayStation. Well, Dreamcast uses triggers too.
This is all you, man. Just you against the clock. You got a couple of tries to post
Yeah, but I don't know
time,
if
so
the...
get to
I'm not
it.
too sure if the triggers on the Dreamcast are like... They have control of their own, like... They have the input where you could use trigger control for a lot of things, like... Say if you were in a racing game, you're using the triggers to accelerate and brake. I'm not too sure if it had the same thing there. Probably did, but I'm not sure.
Orale, now back to the tuners. Don't be fooled though. This Mitsubishi corners like
But
a
even
champ.
if the
It has
Dreamcast
some
did
speed
use
to back it up.
triggers before the original Xbox, the Dreamcast wasn't really a big seller compared to the 64. They did in some way. The Dreamcast wasn't very much of a big seller compared to the PlayStation and the Nintendo 64. Because PlayStation's hardware happens to be far more sophisticated in some cases. At some point, it was probably after when Nintendo 64 released, I think. Nintendo 64 is just like famous enough as it is because it's specifically Nintendo. Like you can't say anything wrong despite the fact that the controller looks weird as hell. Except, oh, it's a Nintendo console, it's probably gonna be good. Like, yeah, sure, it plays some games good, like the Multi-Racing Championship. Mario Kart 64 aged poorly for its time to nowadays compared to its initial release. But my god, you would be glad if you didn't play GoldenEye 007 on that. Trying to play GoldenEye 007 on a Nintendo 64 is like asking how much patience could you run out by playing a video. How much patience could you run out by just simply playing a video game with one analog stick? Dreamcast was released in '98 in Japan, but was released in '99. San Francisco Rush on the 64 was pretty good on its despite limitations. Oh yeah. I think I need to try those. I tried Rush 2, but it was not a Nintendo 64 itself. It was at a time when my dad had an Xbox, original Xbox, but it was heavily modified to be able to run all sorts of old games, from arcade to Nintendo 64 games. At least some of them that could be acquired, if anything. I'm not sure what happened to that console though, but he used to have it, and he would used to run those kind of games on that console. Anything besides the original Xbox. Yeah, but sometimes But anyways, for the Nintendo 64, sometimes people will try to run their way through with the limitations. They know like there is limits that they could see for themselves that the Nintendo 64 could run on, but sometimes people will try to get creative and try to run around, trying to bypass those limitations, see if they could get it through without breaking the console itself, which would be surprising in some cases. I would have imagined, what if Rockstar Games tried making Midnight Club 2 and released it not only on the PlayStation 2, but also did the same thing for the PlayStation 1. Now that would be the question right there. How would Midnight Club 2 go on the PlayStation 1 despite the limitations that the PlayStation 1 has? Now that would have been an interesting question right there. Despite the fact that Sega Dreamcast uses triggers to play their games, to play the games if by any means necessary, the main problem of the Dreamcast is that it didn't really sell that it didn't really sell that much, and it fell into obscurity because of that. It was overshadowed by the other consoles. It was overshadowed by the N64, and then later the PS2. I'm sorry, not the PS2, I mean the PS1. So realistically, the triggers on controllers wasn't seen as revolutionary for its time when it was released on the Dreamcast. It wasn't until later when the original Xbox came out. The original Xbox was what represented the technology that previously existed, but yet not a lot of people had any idea of. Especially Sony when they released the PlayStation 1. And then later the PlayStation 2. Of course, the PlayStation 2 was tied in to compete against the original Xbox. For Nintendo, having two analog sticks for a controller was not seen as an evolutionary until the PlayStation 2, the original PlayStation, had arrived, and that console specifically had two analog sticks for you to play with and the controllers. Now, for the triggers, that was not evolutionary for the time. I mean, it sort of was, but not a lot of people saw through with it when it came to the Dreamcast. It wasn't until the original Xbox that's when it became evolutionary. It's like saying cars with rounded curves are non-evolutionary because that's what the that's what automakers started off with back then. Well, at least when they were trying to make vehicles. Well, I mean, not in the first few instances because back then, way back then, they were kind of a bit more boxier. But as time progresses onwards, they've gone to the curved shape designs of automobiles, which is evolutionary for its time, and it still is to this day. In fact, some cars do have curves. But at some point in the 70s, the American car company went to boxy designs once again. Or in general, just went into boxy designs. Not even again, it just did. And the US automakers missed their mark on the idea of curved cars for the aerodynamics. What they really want, the reason why they wanted boxy vehicles was cheap manufacturing, pretty much. Curved designs were just evolutionary. They still are to this day. Actually, anything could be evolutionary to any single thing, depending on how it works and what are some flaws that are on certain things. For controllers, the evolutionary thing is that PlayStation had the two analog stick design choice. For the Xbox, despite the fact it was started off by Dreamcast, had for the PlayStation it had two analog sticks and a simple button layout. For the Xbox, it utilizes the same button layout as the PlayStation. However, the buttons that are utilized, like the R1, R2, and L2, or basically what they would call the RB or LB, would be later replaced with triggers, which leads to the RT and LT. Despite the fact that the first console ever uses that was the Dreamcast. And then you go to automobiles, where vehicles are rounded out. Like they're on rounded designs for the aerodynamics. However, the U.S. automakers decided to go out of the way to make boxy vehicles in the 1970s just to cheapen up the production of automobiles, which really isn't very much of a it's not really much of a good idea for its time. It made every single car look ugly. Say what you want about box Chevys from back in the day, but the reliability of those box Chevys were unmatched compared to what they are in today's time. Now, the main issue is just that when it comes to certain cars, it's not just the reliability that matters, but also how the design is. Like most of the cars that were boxy were not that great looking. Weird thing is that the 1970s gave birth to one of the most controversial cars in the United States, the Ford Pinto. It's kind of a funny thing. The Pinto is just ridiculously funny on the fact that its design was just horrible when it comes to the gas tank. I'm pretty sure we all know about that by now. So bad that it was even inside of a film and named Top Secret, I think. And well, the guys that were driving some Jeep crashed into the rear of it, and this caused the explosion of the car because of the game. Like, while most of them don't really look particularly too nice, there are some that had some problems. The Pinto had one of the problems, which was the gas tank. If I could fit a V8 in a Pinto, I would love it as a sleeper. Oh no. You would be driving with a V8 Pinto, all of the gas tank is right there. I'm gonna take a guess there's not a way to reinforce it so that way it will not break that easily. Because that would just add an additional weight. I don't even think it'd make a difference because some of the reinforced plating could bend just like the regular gas tank itself. That's fine. I guess it needs a different plate. I don't know, it's just kind of weird. It's just a weird car with a terrible design engineering choices. But Ford made it like that just to try to make some quick money out of a hatchback series. Instead of recalling those cars, they just decided to have people keep the cars. They don't want to give the money back because it would be in the millions, maybe even a billion or so. It's controversial and represented as the #1 case study for lawyers. Oh, the car is so bad that it has to be a demonstration for lawyers. I would reinforce it, but the V8 would make up for its extra weight. Oh wow. I'll be glad on one thing that they would never put a Ford Pinto in a racing game. It's just too controversial. It doesn't even deserve to be in a video game. Nobody will want to touch that car. Well, I mean, not literally nobody, but it's actually more worse than the Reliant Robin. The Reliant Robin has its own cases of being bad, despite it just being in England, being an automobile of England. It's just 3 wheels for one car. The issue is 2 wheels in the back and 1 wheel in the front. And that's a serious issue because there's a good chance your car is going to be flopping over to the side and whatnot if you're not too careful, or if you don't have the training wheels on for the car. Now the idea of 3 wheels was fine enough when it comes to the Morgan 3-wheelers, because rear because there was only one wheel in the rear while there was two on the front. Now that's fine because it it still has some stability, but I don't know what the fuck the engineers of Reliant Robin are thinking about putting one wheel in the front and then two on the back. I'm like, hello, instability. Are you trying to get Are you trying to get some people killed or something? I don't know. It's kind of a bad design choice, but it's what makes it funny in the first place. Bro, did you keep on crashing until like that's just cheating? I have no idea. I'm not sure what you meant. Wait, what? Message retracted? What do you mean? Someone say something wrong? Oh no, I think it's because the message is retracted. Oh god, come on! That was a bus. Oh god. God damn, this is a hard race. Shouldn't even be that hard to win. There we go, now I actually won the race.
You for reals, Holmes?
The only thing I liked from Morgan is a Morgan Arrow GT. Oh, like... well, those Roadsters. I mean, they're more of sports cars, but when I first... I don't know, it's kind of a mix of a Roadster and a sports car for the Arrow series. I say it's like a roadster and a sports car because it's like I mean it's built like a sports car in general, but it doesn't. It's like some of the models don't even have a top for the vehicle. Like there's no roof for the vehicle itself for some of the models. Sometimes it could be. Sometimes it just being a combination of both is interesting. The Morgan's an interesting. The Arrow's an interesting car, if I gotta be honest, though. So this is what I'm going to be doing, is just racing on the freeway. Is that it? All I really need to do is just dodge all these cars. And worry about this cop that is rubber banding like crazy. Look at him, he's trying to keep up and he's having a hard time just trying to get me. Watch, when he chases against the other AI drivers, he doesn't even do that. Like, if it's an AI driver, the cop just does not rubber band. But if it's like the player driver, okay, we're gonna go ahead and rubber band for that guy. That's what the cops is doing inside of the game. It's probably as bad, if not maybe even worse than the rubber banding for Need for Speed Underground. And I ran out of drink. I'm probably gonna go ahead and buy another car. This time I think I'm gonna go with the 350Z. Stick with its stock colors. Actually, I think what I'm just gonna do is just modify the car. And then after that, I'm gonna call it a stream because I got something I need to take care of outside into the real world. I got things I got things to do, pretty much. But I mean, I said that I would stream this on Saturday, so I will be back on that day to stream this game. I'm just not gonna go ahead and go real quickly because I'm gonna modify this car. Give it a little bit of special Midnight Club modifying before I start heading off. Or that's probably got to be the most cringiest thing I've ever seen, so please do not take that for granted. It is by far the weirdest thing I've ever said. Now that looks nice. Actually, no, I'm not filling the rims. Now that is what I'm talking about. Alright. Actually, let's add a little bit of personalization. Now that is just as good as it possibly could get.
Well, that's what they say. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Now I did say that I was gonna go ahead and hop off because I got some more pressing. I had some pressing matters to take care of. But no worries. I'm gonna be back on Saturday to stream, so it won't be the end of the world. I know it was a ridiculously short stream, but yeah, I don't know. I wanted to stream, but then something else came up in mind. Just some important family business I have to take care of, as per usual. But it ain't the end of the world. At least not for me. But besides that, I am gonna be up and off. I My name is Icecade. Thank you all for stopping by. If you wanted to, feel free to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. And some of the changes will be made in the throughout some time. It'll take me a very long while to adjust towards trying to be more transparent in regards to video game drama and whatnot. But yeah, besides that,